morning, everybody. This is Kara, and welcome to Glazing with AMACO. So today I'm going to discuss using Celadons, like Mix and Clear, and snow with underglazes. So it may seem kind of strange, but from time to time I've had some people on our Facebook group who've asked about using snow or one of the other more opaque Celadon series underglazes with underglaze and how it would come out. So I did a sample tile. I will go right back there. I did a sample tile, and this is velour black velvet underglaze lines and coral V316, V317 coral underglaze as a background, and it is mixing clear on the left hand side and snow, undiluted snow, on the right hand side, and then a blend so you can see if you're wanting something that is a little bit softer, not quite a strong contrast. You might want something in the middle. So to start, I'm going to demonstrate what I did with the bowl, or with this tile. And I'm going to demonstrate it. I am using the V317 coral. There we go. And I'm going to paint the coral on first, that background, and I'm just leaving the white of the clay behind the design. And so the design is drawn on with a graphite pencil, and I used a what do you call it? It's a transfer paper, a graphite transfer paper, to get most of the design on there and filled in a little bit with the graphite pencil so that I know where I'm going to put my design. Now with velvets, you always want to make sure you get a thick enough coat, partly so you don't see these kind of streaky areas, because those will totally show up when you put a clear glaze over them. So when using underglazes, I do at least 2 coats, and I do them in different directions to cover up any streaky areas. There we go. If you have questions, please go ahead and ask. I think I've set it for comments, but maybe not. Can everybody hear me okay? So, get my underglaze on there. Now, coral is one of our newer pink underglazes, and this color stays a really beautiful warm pink all the way up to cone 10. And it does not matter if you use a zinc or zinc-free clear, so you can use whatever clear you want. Unlike a lot of other underglazes, it doesn't do better one way or another. It is resistant to those color shifts that you might get. So you can do all kinds of things with it, and it stays this really beautiful warm pink. I really love it. Go around, make sure I got all my spots. I know, not the most exciting part of doing a demo. And then to do the lines, what I used is my V370 velour black, in my applicator bottle. If you have not seen me talk about using underglazes before, you may be surprised that I use these kind of applicators all the time. The more you use them, you get really good at it. And I take the cap off. These are AMACO applicators. I take the cap off and get rid of it, and I use a dress pin. As you can see, I use a dress pin inserted into the nozzle to keep it clean and open. And then just make sure. Come on, there we go. Now the graphite will burn out, so I don't need to worry about those graphite lines showing up. They will not appear once I've fired this. So the tile obviously is a different pattern. The tile is actually a William Morris peony design, and I frequently will go online and find images that are open source, available for commercial use, and I make a Xerox and then use those images. Sometimes I will draw an image freehand, and then I can make a copy of it to use for tracing. Now I think instead of doing all of the underglaze on this for the video, I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to talk about mixing Celadons. So, as I said, this sample tile this is fired to cone 5. This is these same underglazes, so we'll have a similar sort of effect. This is completely mixing clear. This is completely snow. This is 50-50 snow and clear, and this is 75% mixing clear, 25% snow. This is 75% snow and 25% mixing clear. Now, to get that kind of looking around for my sponge, but I seem to have not brought it over. So to get that kind of blend, what I do is I use cups. And I use my 2 glazes, so, like so. Now it can be done either with a measuring cup of some kind, and it doesn't really matter what size or what the increments are. If you're using metric or you're using standard U.S. tablespoons. This is a half a tablespoon or 7.5 milliliters. It doesn't really matter which one you're going to use. What you do have to be careful of is to make sure that you're using the same measurements all the way across. So in this case, if I wanted to do, let's say I select this one, which is, as I said, 75% clear and 25% snow. So I want 3 of the clear and 1 of the snow. Now I can do this with cups, I can do this with tablespoons, however I want to do it. I do recommend that if you're going to be mixing your glazes and you're going to use it on a large piece, that you do as much as you can to make sure that you mix enough glaze at once, because you can get variations from piece to piece. So set those cups aside, set my snow aside. And the other way that I sometimes use, which I find easier and certainly more accurate, is I get syringes like this. And these are generally used for dispensing medicine for animals. I usually get things like this from not animal supply, livestock supply, like places that have feed stores for cattle and horses often have things like this. And these syringes, I can then measure out small amounts. If you're going to be measuring out a large amount, you might want to use cups. So if I'm using a syringe, I would measure out, for example, so I want 3 parts of the mixing clear to 1 part of the snow. So I might measure out 15 milliliters of mixing clear and then 5 milliliters of snow. And that probably would not be enough for the whole cup, but maybe if I did that twice it would. So I'll show you how I do that. Now for using the cups, the spoons or cups, I just pour the glaze in. So in this case, I always put it in, squeeze it back out, measure again. That way it gets all the air out and I can get a more accurate measurement. So there's my 15. There's another 15. Now I do have an extra syringe, but I do wash them and reuse them again and again, so that you guys aren't bored while I do that. And now I'm going to measure out 10 milliliters of snow. That might not be enough, but with the syringes I can get a pretty accurate measurement, so it'll be the same from each mix. Keep track of what you use. So for example, on my tile, I actually have it written down. Snow, it seems reversed, but that's where it is on the tile. Snow. Snow, 75, 25, 50, 50, 25, 75 with the mixing clear, C11, and V370 at cone 5. So keep good records, whether you put it on a tile or if you write it somewhere else for your records. Keep track of that, because you can always go back and do more. So for now, that glaze is all mixed up. I'm going to go back to my underglazing, and I seem to have not put in the I seem to have not put in access to comments, so I'm going to stop for a moment and let you look at the beautiful tile and plate while I find, and if you have any comments, I would love to see them. So I'm just quickly looking for that. Hang on. So while that loads up, hi Lindsay. Yeah, if anybody has comments or if you'd just like to say hi, I would love to hear from you. There we go. Trying to remember what goes in that small area. Now I can glaze directly on top of the underglaze. That is not a problem. The velvets are very forgiving that way. Or I can bisque this again and then apply the glaze. That works just as well. And it really just depends on what you want to do. I am trying to remember. I think there was something in that open area, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it was. So I'm going to leave it there, and I am going to start glazing at this point. So I put my pin back in my underglaze, move my tile back out of the way, and I'm going to start where the pink is because that's the most dry at this point. And I don't want to glaze right on top of actually wet underglaze. It will cause some smearing if I do that. So I'm going to let that dry just a little bit. Now you can see how when I apply the glaze, I apply it fairly thickly, even with the Celadon. I am a little bit on the heavy side when I glaze. It serves me well when I'm using the PCs, somewhat less well with the Celadons, but I get a nice even coverage. And you can see how this brush, it's nice and soft, so it carries a lot of glaze. Now, some of that underglaze is still very, very wet, so I'm going to stop now. If you have other questions about mixing Celadons, now one of the reasons that you can mix the Celadons because the mixing clear and snow have the same base formula. So mixing clear and snow, almost the same glaze except that one has opacifiers to make it white and one does not. So any of the Celadon series can be mixed with any other glaze in the Celadon series, and you can get custom colors like you would if you were mixing paint. They will not interact in unexpected ways. They won't suddenly create blistering or other problems. And you can do that to create custom colors, which is a lot of fun with the Celadons. There is a space on our website for mixing the Celadons. If you go to our Celadon page, you'll see that. And there are some tiles. Now, some of the newer Celadons have not been tested in the same way, but we will be trying them out, and we'll share that with you as we go along. So, as I said, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. And, oh, I'm seeing more comments now. Hi, Jackson. Long time no see. And, oh, I can't scroll down now for whatever reason. So I will comment, I will respond to your comments offline. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you all next week. Bye.